Hey everybody, welcome back to the HIT.OR.DIE podcast with your hosts HIT.OR.DIE and Chad Rothford. Special guest, one of our faves, the Fresno State head baseball coach, Ryan Overland. Ovi, thanks for coming on again.
Oh, my pleasure. Good having you guys.
Yeah, we're
in Sukasa.
We're in Ovi's office, the Ovi office. Not the Oval office, but the Ovi office. Yeah. Solid.
He's too humble.
I hadn't thought about that comparison.
Right?
The Oval office.
Yeah.
Too humble. Coming off a big series this weekend, but before we get there, I did need to shout out Tyler Davis, your catcher, and Murph Gray. We were at the game Saturday, Sunday. They were like the last guys to leave, and they hooked the kids up, my nephew and my son, with some batting gloves and baseballs, and honestly made their whole weekend. They couldn't stop talking about it. My nephew had to come back yesterday. Obviously, we needed to be there to win this series, but I'll tell you what, man, it's just cool to see them, even all the players, and you've been a part of it, of watching them go out there and interact with the fans and the crowd, and it was a big one yesterday.
Yeah, it was a huge weekend with a huge crowd, and appreciate you and your family coming out. And when we've had these great crowds at home, there's been several times where I come out and got to do the media stuff out here, and there's hundreds of people out here and kids, and our guys out there signing autographs and spending time with them, and just a huge part, especially to have the two guys that you mentioned, two local guys that probably grew up seeing players here, saw guys in uniform, probably were those kids out here getting autographs and coming to games. And I know Tyler being one of them, he told me a couple of weeks ago how he was in Omaha with us. That
In 08?
At 6-7 years old, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, having two local guys like that and getting to spend time with kids, and that's what this is about, and what the experience of being a Bulldog. You're in a community where people care. People come out and they know who you are, they recognize you, and that's one of the things that's special about playing in this program.
You guys have had the same kind of thing, though, down here. CJ probably loves coming down here.
CJ loves it.
It's like part of, he's probably going to have a locker soon.
I mean, he plays cards with the guys. I try to tell him to stay away from the cards, though, because those are the POs. I was like, hey, you need to hang out with the hitters more, you know. But no, we love it. We're thankful you let us come out, and he enjoys it, and it lets me get back on the field and be around you guys. But yeah, he's lacking, though. I know he hasn't been to he was undefeated on Tuesday games for you, and then we haven't been to some. But we're gonna get back out here. He's
we got to get him back out. We got we got to talk to CJ about that. We haven't quite played the same since he hasn't been out here. So whatever, playing the cards or hanging out, playing pepper or whatever else, obviously did something to get the guys going. So we got to get him back out there.
He'll be out.
The other thing I was gonna say, and I don't know, I swear I heard it. My brother heard it. I had another friend hear it, and I asked some of the players yesterday. I might have asked you. But I heard San Diego State's dugout on 2 occasions with my own ears say hit or die from the dugout to their hitters. Now, I don't know if to take that, if it's true. I swear I heard it. I'm telling you, I believe they said it. But none of the players said they don't remember hearing it. But I don't know if there's any San Diego State. Joe Oliveira, you'll know.
Well, maybe.
Was it a positive thing or a negative thing? I didn't know how to take it.
When anybody mentions hit or die, it's always positive.
It's got to be.
They're probably it's probably a 2-0 call or a 3-0 call, you know, hit or die, you know, rake or something, but they're going to have to pay us some money to keep using it.
Yeah, no shit. Or just keep losing to the Dogs. We'll take that.
Yeah.
Just talking about this weekend, I mean, obviously you had a little, rough stretch, whatever you want to call it. You just had a couple of weeks there where just some things weren't going your way. I don't know how you'd describe it.
D1 baseball.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably the best way to sum it up. And then, you know, Friday night's a tough game. You face a local product, TJ Fontaine, who's having a good season for them. Eshawn pitches pretty well. I mean, goes 6 1/3, 10 Ks, no decision. Just talk about Friday and then how the rest of the weekend transpired.
Yeah, and it's like Chad said, I mean, it's kind of college baseball. You're going to – hopefully your ups out are more than your downs, but there's going to be ups and downs. And nobody wanted a 7-game losing streak. Nobody anticipated it. but it's the fact that it's the road that we have. So we talked a lot about with the players that keep going forward, keep fighting through it. The only way to get through it is to fight and stick together, and this is our downstretch. I don't know if LSU's had theirs yet. It's a pretty talented team, but they'll have something in there. Theirs might be a little smaller, but there'll probably be some in there. And he's got to keep going and keep fighting through. And lost another tough one on Friday when, I don't think Eshawn had his best stuff, but he kept fighting. He kept us in the game, found a way to tie it and get into extras. And for the guys to bounce back and Roman have the outing he did, Mike McKernan getting the start and getting 2 big hits, driving in the first run, bringing a spark to us. You need something like that. You don't want to put that on your players that, hey, somebody's got to do something extra or big, but sometimes that's where it starts. And to be able to get that win, and then a back and forth game yesterday that to find a way to win, and now there's no looking back. Now we've made it through the rough stretch, got the 2 wins against a really good team here. Now we keep going and don't look back. We've been through the rough spot. We didn't lose anybody. We're all still here together, fighting together. Keep going and do it all the way till they don't let us play anymore.
Did you notice any, how was the demeanor? How'd the team feel even during those 2 weeks? You noticed, was there any pressing? Was there any maybe heads hanging, or did they just keep going?
It's frustrating. You how much time the players, coaches, everybody you put into this, and these guys spend so much time in the cages. They want to get out there and perform, and it's tough, especially as an amateur hitter. When you get out your first at bat, you got to wait an hour till you get in there again to be able to do something. Or you're standing in the outfield and, gosh, I just want to help the team somehow. So yeah, there's frustration, and because it means a lot. And we talk a lot with the players that just because it means a lot to you doesn't mean you get to win. There's a team in the other dugout that they practice, they put in hours, their coaches are scouting, they want to win too. So just because you've put in work and want to win doesn't mean you get to win. And sometimes even in baseball, honestly, the 3 games this weekend, both teams could have easily won any one of those games. That series could have turned out any way, 3-0 or 0-3 both ways. And just understanding that sometimes you play well and lose, sometimes you play bad and win, but it's about consistency and keep moving forward and learning and growing and being at your best as a team at the end of the year.
Yeah. I think too, your dugout and locker room's pretty veteran. You got some veterans in there that have been through some of that stuff before, and I think that kind of helps out too with the younger guys. Picking them up and hey, it's okay. We keep doing our thing. Something's going to work out. And I've noticed that not only being here, but watching your guys' games and following you guys, is some of those veterans, I think, are helping out big time with how the freshmen and those guys are coming along.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you go through stretches like that, it's time to get tighter. It's time to get more attention to detail. Make sure you're getting the extra work in. Make sure you're going to the meetings for class and advisors. Don't let all that extra stuff get sloppy, because then that's how it gets sloppy on the field, and your teammates see it. Well, that guy came in late today, or he didn't show up to this, and then, well, I'm not going to. So when you go through stretches like that, you got to get tighter to detail and stick together, and I think our guys have done a good job of that. And a lot of it is, like you said, having some experience and some guys that have been through stuff they don't want to go through again. Yeah,
and it seemed that way. The energy seemed good here all weekend. Saturday was one. I don't know how much you want to get into details, but obviously Jake Dixon has been a big part of the rotation the last few years. Didn't get through his game last weekend at Air Force. Didn't pitch this weekend. Kind of dealing with some stuff. Again, I don't know how much you want to get into. The point is that Roman Angelo moved up from Sunday to Saturday. And Saturday was phenomenal. I don't even know the right words to describe how well he pitched when you needed it the most so far this season. What he go 8, right? He went 8. No runs, just pitched outstanding. What do you say to that?
Yeah, and so like I said a little bit earlier, that's the type of performance sometimes you need to get you out of some ruts like we were, and somebody to do something big like that. And Roman did it for us, stepping up with Dixon out, moving a game up on the weekend, and especially the way losing an extra inning game Friday, momentum's a real thing in college baseball. As much as it's 0-0 the next day and it doesn't matter, it's real. And he came out, gave a double the first pitch of the game. That alone would have ruined a lot of guys' outings right there, giving up a double the first pitch of the game. They bunted him over, took the out, got the next guy out to inning with nothing, and really not much throughout the rest of the way, and was completely in control for us. And that's what you expect that you're going to get when you got guys that are fifth-year seniors, and the experience and the amount of innings that they've thrown, that they're capable of doing that. Not that you can expect that all the time or that that's the standard, but that they are capable of it and giving it to us. And then, a couple big hits, and like I said, McKernan getting the start and 2 huge hits, the first hit of the game, and then driving in the run, the opposite field hit, and then obviously the 2 big home runs from Murph and Hotfeet. But yeah, Roman coming up and having that outing was exactly what we needed.
I was talking to Murph after a little bit, and I just said, dude, that ball got out of here in a hurry. And you know what his response to me was, well, I was trying to get on second base to get in scoring position. Because at that point, I think you dogs were down a run, right? You guys were down when that tied the game. I'm not sure. Maybe not. Maybe gave you a little extended the lead. But just his mentality is out the box. I'm not even seeing where the ball is at. I just knew I got it. It's in the gap, thinking 2. Is that impressive as a freshman to just see that mentality? Maybe some of that maturity already?
Yeah, I mean, Murph, he takes solid at-bats, and he's just trying to get on base and help the team win, whether in any role. And it might be a little bit of, I know this was a thing for me, and Chad, maybe you didn't deal with this because you hit it over the fence a lot more than me. When you can't run and you hit a ball hard that's going to hit the fence, having the outfielder pick it up and throw it to second and stay on first for a single is pretty embarrassing. So when you can't run that well, and Murph's a way better runner than I was, that's for sure. And I'm sure, Chad, you hit it over the fence.
No,
but being there, the guy that could not run, when you hit a ball that hard and you're not sure if it's going to go over the fence or not, it's real embarrassing to still be on first base. So to have that, and to have that peace of mind to know before it's actually happened to you, which he hasn't had it happen to him, but yeah, just trying to make sure you get to second base and get in scoring position. And he's a humble, hardworking, just trying to get out there and help the team, and he's come up big for us.
Yeah, he kind of epitomizes what a Bulldog, just why I love to see it as a freshman. And you got a lot of guys like that. It's a fun group to interact with. Also Saturday, and again, you can tell me if this kind of ignited any fires, but when Angelo got checked during that inning for substance on his glove, on his hats, obviously that most guys take offense to that. Do you think that sparked a little bit too to the dugout?
I don't know. Maybe. It's fine. It's obviously that's a big deal in the big leagues. I'm actually surprised that college hasn't made it a thing of checking pitchers regularly like the big leagues, because it's kind of usually, I think we take a lot of the things that are happening there to ours, and it's fine. They decided they wanted to have the umpires check. It's well within their right to do that. I think our team responded well to it. Obviously,
I guess that's what I was asking. Do you think that kind of woke them up? Not woke them up, but like took offense.
Well, it could go 2 ways. Their coach might be trying to get Angelo out of rhythm and do something or piss him off to get him going, or it could backfire on them, which it did, and he can come out and F that. I'm not doing anything. I'm still blowing it by you, and our team's going to come out and punch you in the mouth. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of things within the game that you hope your players respond in the right way. You hope their focus stays in the right place. And I think, again, Roman's experience, he just kept pitching, kept doing what he was doing. There's a lot, making it a bigger deal than it was. And the message to our team, and honestly, and they got a ton of respect for Coach Martinez and what they've done at San Diego State and the players they've had come through. And we've had a lot of battles over the years, and it's about what happens on the field. And that's what we talk to our players about, and even private conversations with Coach Martinez. It's about the players and deciding the game on the field, and that's really where it is. And that's how the series went, was on the field. It wasn't about anything extra or that ignited something or changed anything. It's what the players decided the game on the field, and that's all you want.
I know sometimes in the big leagues especially, you see guys take that kind of shit personal, and sometimes it can fire up a dugout and whatever. They, I mean, he didn't seem to phase him, didn't affect his rhythm. In fact, I didn't even think at that time he might even have somebody in the bullpen. So if anything, it helps you a little bit get somebody going. But and then Sunday again, you're in the same deal with the starting rotation of, Trevor Garcia is going to get the start, and again, 4 solid innings. It wasn't quite like a bullpen game. I know Tuesdays have been kind of like that. Talk about him stepping up too. I mean, he's pitched a lot in these midweek games. Just to see guys kind of step up when you needed it the most. Like going into this next weekend, how big is that for you guys too?
Yeah, well, going into this week, it's even more magnified because we got 4 on the weekend, 4 in 3 games with the makeup with San Jose. But having Garcia, another 5th-year senior with experience, a guy that doesn't really, when you want me to pitch, I'll be ready, not really going to get too high or too low. To have him for this type of situation is a big luxury. Having Vic fresh on the weekend, haven't had used him yet to be able to back him up with 3 behind him to kind of combine the 2, was obviously just enough to win that game 5-4. And in a game that, again, an inch or 2 on 1 or 2 pitches, we lose 5-4 or 4-3 or whatever it is. When you have 2 really competitive, good teams competing like that on a weekend, it's not the flashy big home run or strikeouts that change it. Sometimes it's 1 inch here or there on a jumper or read or making a play or not. And again, you just want to make sure your guys are in the best position to have those plays go your way more than not.
Yeah, and I think like I said, I think there were some instances where you guys got some breaks, and they had a couple base running mistakes that maybe cost them. You had a big play yesterday where you challenged, they're not challenged, but not argued even. I don't know what you told the umpire, but on a strike 3 stolen base, kid kind of walked across the box and got in the way of TD, and runner was safe at second, ruled out because of interference. Like if he stays at second base, I mean a base hit, you're right, it could change the game. So there was moments yesterday too, even in yesterday's game, where it's like, yeah, the ball could have gone either way. We also talking about 4 this weekend. And it's funny because like last weekend I'm thinking in my head, this is such a big series, San Diego State, to only get through that. And now, and like, you can't even look ahead because you got to, tomorrow's a big game, right? But I'm just saying, if fast forward to the weekend, Jesus criminy, it's even bigger. You're facing the best team right now in the Mountain West at home though. And I'm all I could think about is the crowd yesterday and hopefully seeing that same crowd show up this weekend.
Yeah, no doubt. Having that crowd close to, it had been close to 4,000 people out here.
I think it was right about
like
there.
39 something, I think.
And like I said to Paul in the post game, hopefully we're handing out tickets for next week to everybody that was here to come back out. And just, again, I've said it so many times, we're the best fans in California for all sports, and to have that home field advantage for our players to feel that energy. And I think it's definitely helped us how the opponent players have handled it a couple times. To have that energy, to have that support in this park, and to have that home field advantage is huge. But if you're going to win a championship, you got to beat the best teams, and that's the road. There's no easy path to winning a championship or getting in a regional, and that's the road that it is. And this one happens to be another piece of it. Is 4 games at home against San Jose State, who happens to be in first right now. But again, our league, the way it is with playing some of the teams twice, who you play on the road early. Sometimes you've played a team 6 times before another team's played anybody once or played each other once. So the standings can be a little skewed.
Well, it's the only time you play San Diego State, right?
Yeah, the only time we play them, which is another reason why yesterday was big. If it does come to a tiebreaker, you have an advantage there if it were to come to that. But again, to the point of that, of the schedule, is not to take anything away from San Jose State being in first or where it's at, but just that you got to just keep playing the games and keep going, because it can change quick. It can change real quick in this league. So you just got to just focus on the game that's in front of you and fight with everything you got to get that win and keep going, and hopefully look up at the end of the year and you got the most.
100%. Yeah, so I mean, it was nice to recap. It's just a really good weekend. Another tough set of games this week. Like I said, at UOP Tuesday, tomorrow, this weekend at home, hosting San Jose State for 4. That's 1 Friday, doubleheader Saturday, 1 Sunday, correct?
Yeah, doubleheader Saturday,
Okay.
2 o'clock.
So go to gobulldogs.com, get your tickets, get out here. Like, it's a fun atmosphere. Yesterday was great. The fans were, and even Saturday was a good crowd. So get out there and support these guys. I mean, listen, like we've said it from the get-go, the tournament comes through Fresno. So it'd be nice to see our guys here hosting and winning it at home. So just get out here and check out the games. What I did want to talk to you about is there was some news coming out in college baseball about recruiting. I think it was last week it popped. D1 baseball was the first that I saw it at. But basically, the contact rule, I don't know how much detail, or I'm sure you know all about it, but they're saying that now they're not going to be able to contact players until they're juniors in high school. Is that accurate?
Correct. Yeah, August of your junior year when it starts.
And that takes an effect like what, next week or two?
Next week.
Did you? I mean, because I don't know when they vote on this stuff. So, one, were you surprised to see that pass?
Yeah, I knew they were voting on it. I knew it was one of the things. Very surprised that it passed.
Very surprised.
I think it's good. I think it's good for the sport, good for families, good for kids to wait and not be forced into a decision at 14, 15 years old that, to be honest, really don't know what they're looking at, what they're thinking about. But surprised that it passed, just because obviously the bigger schools recruit earlier and earlier to compete with each other, and I would have thought they would have been the ones voting to keep it, but I don't know, maybe not. Maybe they wanted to slow it down too. But I think it's good. I think it's good for families to not be rushed to go to a tournament and then have all of a sudden you got 10 schools that want you to call them, which is another part of it. At 15 years old, you picking up the phone and talking to a 40, 50-year-old adult that you're just not ready for that type of decision to know what's really important to you, the type of player you want to be, where you want to play 4 years from now. I think that should only help kids make the right decision, let time go on. If you're good enough, schools are still going to want you. There's no, because I think part of the other reason now is I think there's a lot of families that feel rushed. And, well, you got a scholarship and you got a scholarship. No, there are not going to be any left if we don't decision, okay, we got one, and then take it. And then they get left in a tough spot. So I think slowing it down, it should only help. I mean, who knows where it'll go now, but I think it should help families. I think it should be good for the players and the families, and ultimately for the coaches too, to make right decisions.
Well, now you can see a freshman kid that you thought was ready. Now you see him at the end of his sophomore year, the sophomore summer, going to his junior year when you're ready to talk to him. Yeah, he's developed nicely. You know, we liked him, but now we really go after him. You know, and I think it's going to make it more fair, like you were saying, with the big schools and the small schools. I think it's going to make it more fair for you guys to be able to get those recruits that the big schools are going after, the Stanfords or whatever in California. Now Fresno State will be able to compete with that. And I'm not saying anything bad against Fresno State. It's just it is what it is. The Power Fives have the rule over everybody. But now if it's making it a little bit more equal, then it'll be better, I think, for the Bulldogs as a whole. And that goes for every sport if it isn't just baseball, if it's like that all the way around.
Yeah, and I don't know how much of giving somebody an advantage or not an advantage. I think it just gives everybody more information and can make right decisions. It's, for me personally in this business, I've never wanted to offer a scholarship, have a kid be a Bulldog, and have to come back later and say, oh, nope, never mind. It's not why, but there's a lot of schools that don't have a problem doing that. Mm-hmm. And now hopefully this can take some of that out of the equation that, yeah, kid, they would hit a couple, lit up the radar gun at 15 years old and then didn't do anything again the next 3 years, and then, oh, never mind. Hopefully it takes that part out of it, and it's just a better kids and families get to actually see schools, be closer to when they're actually playing there, and make the right decision for them at the time.
Do you think it was more to protect that deal, or like the decommit stuff, or I just don't understand why all of a sudden did they decide, you know what, we probably should put a stop to some of the stuff that's going down, seeing 8th graders commit to D1s. You think that's part of the reason?
I don't know. I honestly don't know what. That's why I said my surprise that it actually passed. I don't know what actually sparked it to have it. I mean, obviously, it's anybody that looks at it and goes, why is a 14, 15-year-old committing to a college should be, hey, maybe what we're doing is not the right way to do this.
Well, and it also kind of keeps you working, right? You've mentioned this a bunch of times, Chad. Like, well, I mean, Bates did too, but how you just hate seeing 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th graders put that much importance on that decision so early when you just haven't developed into maybe what the potential player you could be. You see guys just continue to get better and better and better. And you always mentioned, like, well, you might you're committing as a 9th grader or 8th grader, and now you've just ruled out every other school. And who's to say you don't get better and showcase yourself well towards the end of your high school career to go somewhere else?
True. And that, like, I try to think back to my freshman year. I was on the freshman team, and I was nowhere near the player I was when I was a senior even. I know there was, as a freshman, there's no shot I was going D1 but by the time I got to my senior year, I was bigger, stronger, more developed, and it was a possibility, but my grades weren't there, so I knew I was a Ram all the way. But I also feel like now it's going to help these freshmen and stuff to work harder, like you're talking about. I got something more to prove. I don't get to just settle, and not just settle, but I'm not saying it right, but like I have this, so okay, I'm good. Now I can just sit back and just,
get comfortable.
I get comfortable. And I feel like, now it's more of, no, I got to prove myself for 2 to 3 years to these schools. I actually think it's going to be better for the game of baseball in the high school level, I think.
Yeah, I think it should, because that's, again, ultimately our job as college coaches is to get the best 20 and 21-year-olds. It's not putting together a roster of the best 15, 16-year-olds. And it's when you do this long enough and watch enough kids, you see kids that are really good 15, 16-year-olds and then commit, and then by the time you see them, he didn't get much better. And you always wonder, is part of it because he got comfortable? He's had a scholarship for 2-3 years, and I'm already going there. And then the kid that has been dying for that opportunity, that's kept working and passed that guy up. So that is a good point, that hopefully kids do keep working more so, because it is about just players being the best players they can be and keep growing and getting better constantly.
Yeah, well, see, I don't know how you police that. I don't know if you have to log your phone calls. How does that work? Like a burner phone. This is the thing. It's like, it's one thing to say, oh yeah, we're going to make this a rule. Now, how are they going to police this as a rule? Or is there a booster?
I think it's still going to be the same as if it was a dead period.
But I'm saying, is there a booster? Is there someone else to influence a kid at a young age? Like, hey, they're interested in you. Hey,
I'm sure boosters probably.
You know what I'm saying? There's ways around.
But that would probably happen more in football.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a rule for quite a bit of a time that us as coaches have not been able to contact, that we cannot call or text players of a certain age. What they've changed is now, but it's always before that they could call us. So go figure that too, that I can't call you, but you can call me. So they've changed that. Now
there's like that.
Well, a coach can tell me, like when I was an assistant in Fresno City or at Clovis West, whatever, hey, can you have that kid call me?
Well, that's
so then they're not getting in trouble.
Or if you're having a conversation.
That happened a long time during the dead periods and stuff.
Yeah, with a player like, hey,
which isn't illegal to do, right? Or you're just the rule.
Yeah,
you didn't contact him.
Yeah. So I guess now you talk about policing it. To I guess if a sophomore or freshman commits to a school, that to me says that's instant violation. How could you commit to a school without a recruiting conversation?
Unless you just like that school and want to go there.
So now the rule is nothing, period. No, not even them calling you.
No interaction.
That might help you.
That.
I mean, that might help a lot of people that can't stand seeing all the
commitment posts.
The commitment posts
or the decommits. I mean, it is what it is. That's the way. That's the way it is going right now. But I'm really for this because I'm fighting for the guys that want to get better and develop and prove something.
Yeah, and hopefully it can kind of change. Again, we're talking about young 14, 15, 16-year-olds that now their focus can actually be about playing the game and helping their team win, and not who's in the stands today. I might get an offer today if I play well. Just enjoy the game with your buddies and be as good as you can be. I mean, I don't remember ever thinking about that in high school of who's here today and I might get an offer if I get 2 hits today. But that's the reality of where recruiting world is at, and hopefully now it can, for kids at a younger age, can more focus on the game.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And that might, I'm just going to throw this out here, that might help with the travel ball circuit too, because now they can't get talked to or anything at that younger age. I mean, I would assume you guys would still go see travel. I don't even know how that works. Like, does it have to be an 18U tournament now, or because you can't go to 16U? You know,
You can still go watch. Takes a lot of middlemen out.
yeah. I mean, it's almost like, is it even? Will I get in trouble somehow? Like, is it even worth it? Like, obviously, you're going to want to see players, and you're still going to go out and recruit our area and see the younger players and put them on a list saying, yes, when he's August 1, I'm on him. Yeah. No, I mean, you know, realistically, you know, so you're going to go see 14, 15-year-olds anyways, but now the pressure, it's really just taking the pressure off the kid and the family, like you said, which there shouldn't be any pressure. They should be focused on school, on getting bigger, stronger, playing multiple sports if you want, you know, that kind of stuff, which you might see that now more. Because now they're not going to tournaments or travel ball in the summer or whatever. They're playing football in the fall. So I don't know. We might be rolling this thing back around to the 90s where we got really good athletes playing multiple sports and getting bigger, faster, stronger. So I think this could be a good thing for everybody.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I think, you see a lot of guys on Twitter attacking the character of some of these coaches that are doing that. You'll see some of that go, and it's kind of a war on players out there. So I don't blame them for wanting to get the best players they can. God only knows what's going to happen in the next week. You can see third graders getting full ride scholarships from schools, but whatever, it is what it is. I wanted to ask you too, we didn't talk about this, I don't think, the last time. Chad and I have mentioned like the transfer portal over the last couple years, and Chad spent the last few years at Fresno City and trying to get JUCO guys out to whether it's D1s, D2s, whatever. If you can go play, have the opportunity to go play, and Chad, really sold that out there to a lot of those guys. But being at D1, what do you think the portal with all these numbers and kids leaving, how much has that hurt JUCO kids maybe getting to D1 level just because there's so many D1 kids looking for new homes and I'm not saying you in particular, but some D1 coaches are going to go to the portal first to recruit rather than looking at that JUCO player. Do you think that takes a bigger hit?
I don't know exactly what the numbers say to that. If there's less junior college players going to 4-year or Division I schools, I do think that it slowed down the junior college process a little bit. That I do think college coaches, instead of, all right, who's the best junior college shortstop, and we got to go get him because that's the best chance to have an immediate impact in the middle of your infield. Well, maybe we can wait it out for the portal. There is another avenue, and you don't know what's available there until the end of the season, until May, June, July, into the summer. So I do think it's slowed down the junior college level a little bit of how quickly college coaches will pull the trigger on junior college players. But as far as, I think it's still the same. If you've got ability and can play, you're going to get a place to play if you got ability and can play. I do think there's probably a level of college coaches on our end that just assume, well, he was at that school, so he can probably play at our school. Doesn't always work that way, just as it does with a lot of things in recruiting. But I don't know I have no idea what the numbers actually say to that. But I do think it's probably slowed down the process a little bit, and maybe that's better too. Maybe that is better for a kid to get the right spot where he's actually, because that's hopefully as a junior college player, you want to go somewhere you can play right away and make an impact. And that's the program at Oral Roberts where you played, Chad. That was the model there. Mm-hmm. It was all guys coming in to do that. But yeah, I mean, it's changed obviously the landscape of college athletics. So I don't know. I don't know if it's changed the numbers, but I do think it's probably slowed it down.
I think too with the recruiting rule now, it may help it may help the portal, because you're not going to have guys making such early decisions and realizing maybe I made a mistake 4 years ago as a ninth grader.
Well, you might also see more JUCO guys sign in the fall early if because you can still recruit those guys. You just can't recruit the younger.
Because there's a lot of, like, the draft being cut in half is one. And, there's a lot of factors with, less minor league baseball and teams being cut. And then, like I said, the draft and now the portal. There's a lot of reasons. I think this recruiting thing, it's going to be interesting to see, how that plays out in the future.
Yeah, but I mean, like Ovi said, when I was at Fresno City trying to get those guys out, like I know Galvan came back for his second year, but he had a scholarship offer, ready to go if he wanted to take it. He felt he wasn't ready yet. So it's guys like that are going to get the offers. Now it's the guys at the middle of the road that will be a fill-in D1 guy. Those guys are probably going to be the ones that are going to have to wait till after the portal, which I heard a lot of, talking to even you, or Walton at Oklahoma State, or I mean, pretty much D1 guys. Like, I got to wait for the draft and I got to see the portal. And that's just the way of the world, because you're going to take a guy that, I'm just going to use Murph, right? God forbid he's in the portal, and he'd probably never be in the portal. But you take a guy like Murph and say he goes in the portal, well, another school would pick him up because he had the ABs. He proved himself at the Division I level rather than that third baseman at JUCO. Yeah, he might have had the ABs, but he played at JUCO. That's the way I think Division I coaches are going to go with that D1 guy that proved himself a little bit first.
Right, there's an element.
I mean, does that make a little sense?
That's kind of what I'm asking.
Yeah. And that's what they're waiting for.
If you're making a decision on that, you're probably,
Like me as a coach, I'm going to take Murph over the JUCO, even though Murph's younger.
It's hard not to be
he proved
biased
himself
with Murph, just because we've also seen him
play
for so long, and he's always been just such a good player.
And Murph's not going anywhere.
No, he's not.
I'm not trying to throw that out there. I'm just trying to use an example. I hope that nobody gets mad at me for that, because it's not
heart attack over here.
But I was just being an example of what a JUCO or Division I coach is probably thinking.
Because
which I'm not that, but Ovi would be.
We say it like it's just general, like we're just throwing these statements around or talking about these topics.
These happen.
You're ultimately looking for the best players you can get.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's the portal, then okay. If it's JUCO, if it's the high school kid you sign, like, to you ultimately, does it matter where they come from?
No, that's what I was going to say. I mean, hopefully at our job at recruiting and evaluating, that we're finding and getting the best players for our program, no matter where they come from, and having the belief in what you're doing and what you're evaluating to say, I don't care that kid played at this school, I think he can make an impact, versus just going, well, that guy went to Texas out of high school, so he must be good. Everybody makes mistakes. I mean, go look at the recruiting list and how many players sign with schools, never getting at bat or whatever. Everybody makes mistakes. And so just hopefully there's enough in evaluation and recruiting and coaches at all 300 some Division I schools actually try to recruit the best players, and not just, well, he went to that school, so he must be good. And maybe that's even to a junior college, to a 4-year school. It doesn't matter. That hopefully you have enough strength in your evaluation to not just take he's coming from a bigger school.
Right.
Take that kid.
You just assume, right? Because there's also a reason why that kid's in the portal also. I mean, sometimes it's multiple reasons, but you still got to ask that question too. Like, well, why are you leaving the Power 5, after 1 year? Well, I don't know. There's always questions that you can ask. Speaking of Power 5s, needing a hot take. You don't necessarily have to give us a hot take, since you are a head coach of a Division I program. Maybe even so, how you would handle or think of a situation if one of your players did this. But a young man from LSU over the weekend didn't necessarily just pimp a home run, but shouted some profanities at the opposing pitcher that he took deep. And I'm just curious to do you think it's getting out of hand with some of this stuff? Especially in college.
Asking me or
I'm asking you.
He knows what I'm going to say.
I'm going to ask you about this instance though. But I'll just say it. The guy said, "Fuck you, pussy. Fuck you," to the pitcher that he took deep. If I'm a coach, I don't care if you're my 3-hitter and you're the best hitter in the country. Like, we don't act that way. We don't carry ourselves that way. We talked about it with Pappy last week about, you can still dominate but respect your opponents. And I just think it's getting out of hand. In my personal opinion, that at least is too much for me.
Yeah, and speaking from my position as the head coach of Fresno State, all I can do is
control this.
Our players and what we do and how we're going to conduct ourselves. And you never know what there could be so much of a backstory to any incident but at the same time, all we can do is control our players. And I do think we're in a, not just college baseball, but just or baseball in general in society, we're in a short glimpse of a flashy clip, a flashy highlight. How can things be seen quick? And I do think there's a lot of attention to that, especially we're talking about college athletes, of what can kind of be the
story.
TikTok quick viral
right. Yeah, it gets
thing.
Yep.
So all we can do is control our team. There's no reason to play the game. Let it be decided on the field. There's no reason to say anything to the other team. I mean, if something happens, they're not going to back down from anybody. But at the same time, especially when a lot of people do things, and to me, it gets frustrating when you see teams when they do something and then get upset when somebody else does it. It's kind of like, whoa. But I don't know. I can't speak for how any other team's going to play or what they're going to do. It's not how I hope that the Bulldogs are represented,
and they're not, because we're trying to think of anybody that would be that way,
and to give it context, yesterday's game was a 7-6 win by LSU. It was tight late. They did, I think, come back to tie that game. That kid hit a big home run in a big moment. I don't want to not throw some of the context out there. If you're watching college baseball, LSU is absolutely loaded. That team is disgusting. I think
they're portal heavy.
But they are. I mean, like, they got 3 or 4 guys hitting near 400. One guy hitting 500. It's a really good club, and we've talked about moments and big moments. Emotions run high. Big hits. Murph had a couple big home runs over the weekend. Hopfe did. But you guys, it was directed at your team. It was celebrating with their team. None of those guys did anything to the opposing dugout. And listen, this could be one of the best kids, great character. I don't even want to even mentioning the kid itself. It's just the act, doing that display. I don't know. When you saw it, what did you think, Roth? I mean, I know you're not.
I didn't know what he said. Because I saw it and he was looking at him, walking, yelling at the pitcher. And I'm just like, just run. I mean, I don't know. And especially with, you've seen, isn't there a new rule now? I don't know if it's crossed. There's a new rule that umpires are throwing guys out for celebrations. We just saw it in Florida over the weekend.
A bat flip?
The pitcher got thrown out for yelling after a strikeout and doing the
flexing.
He might have said strike 3, mother, whatever. I don't know what he said, but he got tossed. And then that Jack, whatever, that's going off, their lefty pitcher, lefty hitter, he hit a home run, and they showed him walking to the dugout with his hands and stuff straight down.
Yeah, that's right. I saw
walking to the dugout. So I don't know. There's a new rule about celebrations. Is that within the Mountain West as well?
It's an NCAA rule.
NCAA.
Yeah. Anything directed at the other team or overly excessive, I guess, which is, what is it? Again, we're going to want to control our team, but as far as in the game, and honestly, a lot of it comes from when somebody does something in a home run. Usually you're really just upset you gave the home run. And then now you've got the emotion of that you just gave up a home run, something big, and then now you take extra.
Did he get tossed even?
I don't know. I don't think so, no.
Yeah.
I was reading the article on it, and it was weird because, and maybe there is comments about it, but like Jay Johnson didn't even respond to it. Kind of talked about how the kids played, just how he keeps developing, getting better. And like I said, I'm not going to judge the kid as a person because of that one instance. He's this kind of dude. I'm not that guy. I'm just saying in that moment, regardless of how big the situation was, I think to say those things to your opponent, I don't know. I would never do that, but I just wanted to get your take.
I don't know. I also think maybe this stems from guys playing with each other in summers and all these showcases and where they know players, so they're comfortable talking at other teams. and I'm just saying this because I'm just thinking about it because when we grew up, you played for your high school, you played for your little league, and you hated all the other high schools and the other little leagues that you grew up with. But you didn't act that way though. Like you weren't comfortable enough to like scream stuff at them, but you wanted to beat the crap out of them playing them. And I feel like now everybody kind of knows each other, so they're comfortable with talking at each other, and it's just becoming normal. And I don't. That's just how I feel, and it almost looks that way.
Yeah, it does. I agree.
Because we see it at high school here, where guys play on travel teams together, and then they're all buddy and not afraid to, and they want to flex on their buddy that's on the other team, and they want to do a cool celebration because it's in his face because I know him, and maybe that's kind of what's going on because everybody has played with each other and they just know each other rather than, we didn't know anybody like. Even when I was Oral Roberts, if I came to Fresno State and I knew Underwood and stuff, and I would still wanted to beat the shit out of you guys, right. And I wouldn't have done something in your face just because I wanted to beat you on the field. So,
and like I know context is key, right? Because they split, right? I think LSU won Saturday, Kentucky won. LSU won Friday.
Thursday.
Was it Thursday?
They won a 4-game. Okay.
I know it was the rubber match or whatever, and I don't know how bad Kentucky was, dugout wise, chirpy, what kind of game it was. Maybe they were shitty. Maybe they had it coming. I just feel like that response is probably not warranted. Just directly shouting at a pitcher, that kind of stuff. But who knows?
I'm just not surprised now, like with what we've seen going on. So, which is nice to honestly come to a game at Fresno State and not see that. Because I'm old school when it comes to that.
None of the teams that we've come to watch. I mean, UCSB, watching even San Diego State, they were, that dugout was a little chirpy, but I haven't seen anything where it's like, oh, those guys are. I don't know how you. Is that pretty tame in the Mountain West?
I mean, there's.
Get another question. You're not going to speak on another team.
Well, I just think that in general, and to Chad's point about there's some level of players feel like they know each other. They played, and you've also got the social media aspect. Now they're even closer to each other. They've probably seen some kind of interaction of a guy post something that, ooh, I don't like that. It just kind of magnify. They feel closer to everything. And then the social media aspect of it, that's why we're talking about it. Sure. We would have never, 15 years ago, the odds of us knowing about what happened in that game were so slim. I do think there's probably a level that somewhere in a lot of people's minds, if I do something, a lot of people are going to see it.
Well, we know his name now. You know what I mean? Like, not that he's not doing it himself. He's hitting close to 400 with 12 bombs and 40 RBIs or whatever.
As a true freshman.
Yeah, I mean, he's already on fire. We would have figured it out at some point. But we are, people are talking about it, and we ain't the only ones.
Yeah.
No. And again, we can only control our dugout, our players. There's been plenty of things that I think our guys have done that, to me, is unnecessary by today's standards, probably very tame. And I've just said, hey, do we really need to do that? Is that really what we want to be doing? But I mean, we were talking before. We had a game earlier. Asked one of their coaches, "Is that guy's mom not at the game? What he just did?
Yeah,
after he hit a double on second base." I mean, but again, we can only. But what are we going to do from the other dugout? Patrol and get mad about it, or it's not. It has no bearing on the game. It has nothing to do if we're going to win or lose, except for
it's just a look at me
take
moment.
Away energy from anything else. But we'll just control how our team conducts itself and represents itself. And like I said, there's been a couple times where I've, again, on these standards, very minor, but had to say to some individual or the team, hey, do we need to do that? Is that what we want to be doing and representing ourselves, or did that help us win? And again, some very mild things.
I got to ask, I got two things before we wrap up. You being an Angels fan, are they going to ever find a way to not be in are they ever going to lead the division? I love you. You're my boy. But now the Rangers are holding it down there. I don't think the Astros are struggling too. I'm just talking shit, Ovi. I'm just playing.
And I don't have the answer. I feel like I still don't even look at the lineup and still don't even see Trout, Ohtani, and Rendon.
I know. Well, that was my second one was the Rendon suspension. I mean, 4 games, whatever, fine. Like in that situation, What do you like? Where do you sit with fans? I don't know. Fresno State's usually pretty rowdy, especially in football. But like to put your hands on a fan, I don't even think we talked about this, Chad. Did we?
I don't know. I've been in a. I mean, the big schools are. I mean, Baylor was bad. Texas, TCU. I mean,
I go back to like
Texas
Arkansas.
Tech's been bad. Arkansas calling me cheeseburger the whole game.
Yeah, I go back to that.
And
story.
we beat them, and I, did good. I mean,
But
I've been called so many things that it's just like, but you're here watching me play. Like, I don't know. And I was in college. Like, it wasn't even.
I'm saying, are you on Rendon's side of that?
No. I'm against that, dude. Like, you're making millions of dollars. The guy, even if he called you the B word or whatever, who cares? Like, does he know you? Are you? Are you that? If you are, then I guess get mad about it. But if you're, dude, you're getting paid millions of dollars to play professional baseball, and you played at Rice when they were really good back in the day. And like, I'm sure you've been called stuff before. Like, I don't know. Him going in the stands kind of threw me off. Like, come on, bro. Maybe if you say something, great. I mean, you've been there where you'll say something to a fan, like, but I had words with Long Beach State fans when we played them.
Did you ever have any run-ins that you can talk about?
With fans?
No, with even other teams. I like that.
Well, he's a catcher. He's a match. He can talk all the shit he wants, and nobody will know what he's saying anything.
I don't know. The Rendon thing, I heard the players told me about it. I didn't see it. I do know at Oakland you walk up that kind of thing, and the fans are right over you. I do know that I feel like there's a lot of things being said from the stands, and just the perspective of, again, these guys are the greatest athletes on earth, and you're saying the things you do, and I'm sure those guys, they probably put up with a lot, and especially right after a game, walking up the tunnel. I'm sure Rendon probably didn't have any hits that day, or I have no idea, not saying anything else, but probably frustrated and got him at the right time, and he's right there in his face. But I'm sure those guys 99 out of 100 times do keep walking and smile and
but here's the thing, like you're saying, it's in social media. We're going to talk about it. It's,
Well, and who knows what you only hear Rendon repeating what he thought he heard.
Yeah.
To a guy after a game who could have been drunk by then. Who even knows? Like,
in Oakland.
Yeah. And in Oakland. Right. Where the Dogs are getting better attendance than the Oakland A's are. So.
As it should be.
Yep. Ove, I appreciate you always giving us some time. I know you guys on the road tomorrow, Tuesday at UOP. Again, at home this weekend against San Jose State. Massive series. If you're available around in town, make your way out to Bulldog Stadium, to Bob Bennett Stadium, Pete Biden Field. Still have trouble saying that. How much fun is it to walk in this office and see this on the wall every day? Do you smile every time you walk in here?
Where are you at?
He's right there, by the way. You're right over your.
Oh yeah, there.
Is that weird?
Only just now I look at it and go, gosh, 15 years. It's a long time. 15 years, been a while.
Does it feel like 15 years? Or still feel like yesterday when you go back there?
Yes, and that just kind of depends. Some days it feels like it was last year, and some days it feels like a long time ago. But it's been cool to have a lot of the guys come around often, and to kind of have this place to share with them, and and just even finding some of the files from 2008 that I sent a bunch of the lineup cards and the scouting reports and the chart that Chris Tomlinson kept for J-Dub in the championship game, the chart that he had for it, had in there. And Tomlinson was at the game yesterday. Clayton Allison, Mendonça comes out a bunch. To have this place to share with those guys, it will always be really special.
Do the kids ever ask you about those days or that run, these players?
Yeah, I did. TD brought the newspaper clipping from Omaha. I said, "Where'd you get this?" He said, "I was there."
That's how you knew he was there?
Yeah, that's how I figured out he was there. And then the radio show with Paul the other night, Travis Welker was on, and he talked about that they watched the final game while he was camping at Yosemite. And he was embarrassed to say how young he was at the age, but he remembered that at 6-7 years old, camping, watching the games. And yeah, it comes up quite a bit. The guys want to ask, hey, when you guys were in Omaha, what was this like? Or who were the best players on North Carolina that you guys played, or that type of stuff. They ask quite a bit.
So it doesn't matter who they were. They couldn't beat us.
They had their chance. Again, go to gobulldogs.com. Check out tickets for this weekend. Support these guys all the way through. Let's pack this place out. I desperately want to see the Dogs be the number 1 seed come Mountain West tournament play here at this ballpark. Coach, thank you again for giving us some time. That's another episode of the Hit or Die podcast.
Hit or Die.